welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today is the super talented guy that lives on the boat for months and months, Liam Hodder. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Before we come to the music and Plague, which is doing the numbers, I want to start with how did you get to start working on boats, and what exactly do you do on the boats? Is it boats or ship anyway?
Either or. I've worked on boats, I've worked on ships, I've worked on whatever you want to call things that float on water. Yeah, and some things that probably shouldn't be floating. I've done those too.
So, how did you get into it, and like, is what you like? What exactly do you do on the boats?
So, by trade, I'm a navigator. Working on my mate's ticket. So, right now, I'm mostly just doing deckhand work. It's not bad work, man. I enjoy it. A lot of what you'll be doing is like cargo operations. You'll be loading cargo. You could be discharging. If you're loading oil, diesel, anything like that, you'd be loading, discharging that. Um, so it's pretty hands on. Now, when I get my next ticket, it'll be a little less hands on and more of like an administration role, and more navigating, which is what I went to school for. But it's fun, man. Like I enjoy working on deck. I do. You get to get your hands dirty, and it's fun.
When you say ticket, what is that exactly?
So a ticket will basically be like a Transport Canada certification, a qualification that allows you to
Oh,
do your job.
kind of like
Yeah,
your degree, kind of something like that.
yeah, essentially, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. It's
and
like a degree for us who don't understand university. I wasn't that smart. I didn't make that far.
so
That's why they
so, but
send you
like,
away from society.
no, 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 because like what you guys do, it takes a ton of skills, man. Like, I've not been on like a super big boat, but the thing is, when you're kind of by the harbor or whatever, it's still okay. But then the farther you
Yeah,
go, the more disorienting it is because everything is water. Like everything's water, 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 and then you have to like look at your GPS or whatever that little thing that's tracking where you're going is.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of skill involved, but why did you, is that what you wanted to grow up doing? Like when you were growing up, what did you want to be?
It's a stepping stone to the end goal. The end goal. So I grew up like on like sailing, like small sailboats, racing sailboats and stuff. So the end goal is to eventually get back to that. I want to own a boatyard and just kind of fix boats, repair boats, buy and sell boats. I'd like to get back into the racing scene a little bit more, but that's once I have time and freedom and stuff.
Did you do any racing?
Yeah, yeah, I did a little bit of
Where
racing.
would you race from to?
Mostly just within Nova Scotia on like courses. So you'd have like just like a windward leeward, start downwind, upwind, round a mark. You could do two or three legs of that. Um,
Oh,
but never anything serious. Like when I was growing up, I didn't have the financial access to get like like races are relatively expensive. Um, and if you want to race like a double-handed boat, like two people in a boat, you have to have a partner who is able to commit the same amount of time as you are, which is kind of hard when like when you're growing up, your kids, you're like 16, 17, 18. I guess 18 you're an adult, but like 16, 17, when you're really starting to get like hardcore into racing,
mm,
there's a lot of people have a lot of other things going on, so you can't really have somebody dedicate like when they wake up to when they go to sleep to racing. And
mm-hmm,
then you can race single-handed boats,
mm,
but I didn't have the money to access owning my own boat, and
mm.
so it was
And
took
like
what I
sell
could.
and like sailboats don't have any in. engine? Like, do they? Like, it's just the sails, right? That's what's making them move, or do they have any engines?
Yeah. When you're racing them, you're operating just under sail.
Oh,
Now, like I've owned a couple like larger like cruiser sailboats, and they've all had motors on them. Just because like most of the time I'm operating under sail. Now, if I was just going out with like my buddies or something, go fishing for the afternoon, we'd just go out with the motor and just anchor it off, and we wouldn't go far. Um, like 20 minutes out, just drop the anchor, fish for the afternoon, come back in. But for the most part, like if I was going to enjoy the day,
mm.
it'd just be sails up, just go.
So with the racing though, you are pretty much controlled by the wind in a way. How do
Yep,
you like
yep.
decide where you make the wind make you go? You know, say you have to go straight and the wind
Okay,
is going
yeah.
the other way. What do you do?
So with that, like imagine the wind is coming from the direction of this pen here. You
Mm-hmm.
can't sail directly into the wind just because of
Mm-hmm.
like physics. And so what you got to do is you got to tack back and forth, which basically means you just switch the sails from one side to the other, to allow more wind to access your sails. And it kind of works like a positive negative pressure propels you forward. So as you're discharging pressure aft, you're propelling the vessel forward. And like the most basic explanation of that. So like to get to your top mark, which would be the the furthest mark upwind, if you're racing to that point,
Mm.
you'd have to bank back and forth. And that's where the technicality of it comes into play. Like
Eh,
that's where you get the people who are like not just like animals in the boat, but like geniuses.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I used to wonder
yeah,
how that happens, but then when you're coming back and then the wind is on, you're going with the wind and you just let
yeah,
loose, right?
yeah, yeah. Pretty much. There's still like some techniques you can use for going downwind, which are like super cool. You can use the waves because the waves move in a circular motion in accordance with the wind. So you can utilize the waves and the wind pattern to like accelerate more downwind,
Oh.
which is insane. Like watching people who are really good at downwind is just like it's beautiful, man. Like people can get the boat right up on top of the wave, hydroplaning along, and like
No way.
people who can do that well are just insane.
You
It's
know,
insane to watch, man.
yeah, I was just watching something the other day, and it was like this round the wall race. There are sections where the boat is pretty much like almost tilts over, and then they're still going. How did they achieve that?
Yeah. So on the bottom side of most like keel boats or any sailboat really, you've got like a ballast system or a like a lateral resistance. So it would be on smaller boats, it's just be like a really thin fiberglass board, which would be like a dagger board or a center board. And then on the big keel boats, like you're talking about, they've got like a weighted ballast underneath. Now
Oh.
some of the more advanced sailboats, like the Volvo Ocean Race or the like the America's Cup, they
Mm.
uh, they have they use like water ballast and different gravity and hydraulics to adjust their ballast,
Mm.
and that's like it's cool, man. There's so much science in the advanced end of racing right now that it's wild.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. And like, they have all these terms that everybody on the boat kind of understands. It's English, but it
Yeah,
doesn't sound like English. And then they'll say
yeah.
something, and then the other person will chorus it. Like, do you have to go to school to learn this, or it's just something you pick up as you grow up in boating and sailing?
Yeah, it comes with time. It comes with time. And the weird part is like sailing's a weird sport because it's like the terminology also changes from like boat to boat or like region to region. Like
Oh.
in hockey, a slap shot's a slap shot, whether you're playing here in Sweden.
Mm.
But like even within Atlantic Canada, people got different terms for different things, like tacking, which would be like going from the wind from one side to the other side. Some people call that coming about. And it's like, if you've never heard it being called coming about or you've never heard it be called tacking, and now you're on a
Yeah,
racing boat and
yeah.
some like old veteran race sailboat racers like, we're coming about. You're like, what the fuck does that mean? Then you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
And so it's it's something you definitely got to get used to, and there's a million different terms for a million different things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
it
like,
takes some getting
how
used
do they
to.
even know what you're saying? And I guess that's why teens like work together for years and years and years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you grew up in that surroundings, and you decide, okay, I want to do this, but to do this, I actually need to go make some money to be able to afford it. What was the process you went through to start working on the boats you do now?
So there's two different routes you can go if you want to work on the deck or the bridge of a ship. If you want to work on the deck of a ship, you can go. There's a couple different schools within Canada that you can go to. I went to the Nautical Institute in Port Hawkesbury in Cape Breton. So I did a 3 year program there, which was marine navigation technology. And when you leave that, you have 3 years, all of your courses, which you would otherwise have to just go challenge to Transport Canada, and you have to accumulate 365 days at sea
Over the
to
three
go for your
years?
ticket. Yeah, 3 years in class, and then 1 year in total actually at
So
sea.
4 years. Okay, got it,
Um,
got it.
yeah,
How do
essentially,
you?
it's 4 years.
That is crazy though. How do you get the 365 days? Because you're not gonna get it straight, right? Like you're not just gonna be on the boat
No,
for one
it
year.
takes a while.
Yeah.
No, some people do, man. Like there's a school in Memorial University in Newfoundland. They offer a similar program. You leave with a degree in, I think it's ocean sciences. I could have that wrong, or like marine sciences. Like I said, I'm not smart enough for university. I didn't make that cut. But you go to school for, I think it's like a year, and then you go to sea for 2 months, and then you go back to school for like your 2 years or whatever, and then you go to
Oh,
sea for like almost a year straight. Like
oh
a
man.
buddy I was working with 2 years ago, he was at sea. By the time I met him, he was at sea for like 8 months straight. Like he
That is
was starting
insane,
to
man.
lose it, man.
Like,
Oh yeah, he was getting the jitters too. Like we'd be
yeah,
going into
that's what I was
shore, and he'd
gonna
be like, "Oh
ask you.
man, I'm so excited." I'm like, "Man, like
Well, like, how do people stay on? Okay, so there's this guy I was reading about recently, and he's gone around the world, I don't know, maybe 30 times now, all on his own
okay,
in this tiny ass boat, right? Like, how do you do that and not go
yeah."
crazy?
Oh, you do. That's the thing. You just embrace it.
Cause like maybe every couple of weeks you see someone, but between that you're like in this big expanse thing that is trying to kill you pretty much all the time. That's what
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. Like I guess I watch too many disaster films, and like with planes. Like okay, and this is gonna be morbid, but give me 2 minutes. Like with planes, shit
yeah,
happens, the plane drops, and that's it, right? But like when you
yeah,
watch Titanic, it took out like forever for that boat to get so it's like it's
yeah,
coming, but like you're dying.
yeah.
Like oh man, it's so scary. But I think what I learned just from reading about this guy is that when you have the passion for something, like fear and all those things kind of fade. Is that how it is for you?
Yeah, more or less. Like there have been very, very few times where on a sailboat I've been nervous or like uncomfortable with the situation. Um, and it varies boat to boat too. Like if you're on your own boat that you've been sailing for a while and you know how the boat functions, and you can do like different stability calculations and figure out like, all right, if I roll this far, you figure out where your center of mass is, where your center of gravity's moved, and like how much ballast you have and what your righting factor is. You can figure out you're like, okay, no, I'm good. Like we're only leaning over like 30 degrees. I'm good for another 6 degrees of leaning over. Mentally, I might not be good, but physically, like this bitch is not tipping over.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like if you know that and you're comfortable with that, it's
Mm.
okay. But there have definitely been times where like you get on a new boat or like even at work you get on a ship. and maybe not the sea conditions, but like just the way the boat handles, you're like, man, what the fuck is going on? Like, I woke up upside down today. Like, oh yeah,
um,
man,
yeah. So
that's
you take
weird.
this course, you did a 1 year thing, you get your ticket. Where was the first, like, after school? What was the first boat you were on, and where did you guys go to? How was that experience also?
So it was cool. It was really cool. I did my first trip out in the summer of second year. So I got like 3 months there, and I went out with a company called Horizon Maritime, which is they got two offices in Canada. One's based in Halifax, or in Dartmouth rather, and the other is based in St. John's. Um, and they were a really great company to work with. Like from the get go, they were very easy to communicate with, and they were like, "All right, this is what's going to happen." I was like 18 or 19. They were like, "Yes, you're going to go on a ship," and I was like, "Oh yeah, right on." I was like, oh, not a clue, man. Like, so they were super easy to like explain things to me, and like, this is what you need, this is
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to be doing, this is kind of what your job is. And I was like, right
Mm-hmm.
on. So I just went as a cadet for my first year. Um, and we were working on an offshore oil project in offshore Sable Island. It was separate from the deep sea Pinook and stuff. It was what ship was that? The West Aquarius. She was being leased by British Petroleum. And so that's what we did for the first year. I was just primarily running cargo back and forth to the rig, which was really
Okay.
cool because you're seeing all kinds of different cargo. You'd be seeing like drill bits that are like worth like $500 million, and you're like, don't even look at them, they'll break. Like all kinds of crazy stuff, man. We were
Yeah.
loading barite, mud, diesel, everything to go out to the rig,
Yeah.
food, safety supplies, like, and to see the whole operation come together
Mm.
um, was really really cool to see how everything functioned. Like it is honestly like a fine tuned machine, the whole
Mm.
operation. Because in Canada, like the the wiggle room for like any level of fucking up is like zero. Like if you fuck something up because of negligence, like you're done. Like you will never work in that field again.
Holy shit!
So
That
it's
is.
oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, it's serious shit, man. Like it's
I
insane.
mean, yeah, you're carrying, as you say, really expensive cargo, and then also the human lives on the line too. Um,
Yeah.
so you do this 3 months, come back, you finish. How did you get the job you're doing now?
So this took place. The job I'm doing right now, I was on a waiting list to go to an accommodation vessel, which was just doing. There was an offshore exploration rig down
Mm,
in Nigeria that I was waiting to go do accommodations for. Which is basically just we were on a ship, and the ship had a bunch of like living units in it.
mm-hmm,
So the rig workers would walk down the little gangway, and they swing the crane out, and they just walk down onto our ship, and then we'd fuck off and get out of the way of the rig again. And they'd have these accommodations where they could sleep, bathe, eat, and whatever. Um, and I was seeing the pictures of it, like sitting at home. I was like, man, I want to go do this. So anyway, I was on the waiting list for that, and it just kind of kept getting bumped back because the availability for people to come back and forth and do a regular crew change was kind of weird. And then COVID kind of started to get in there and do its COVID thing.
mm-hmm,
Um, and so anyway, I contacted the crewing agent of the ship that I'm working on now, who was a friend of my father's.
mm.
I knew that there was an available position on the ship, so I was like, man, everything I've heard about the vessel is great. Um, I was like, I'd be interested in applying for the role. So anyway, I just went in, did my interview, and he was like, yeah. So you said you have references? I was like, oh yeah, I can get the references. So I sent him the references, and then within like an hour, he sent me back my offer of employment, and I've been there for just over a year now. So
Wow.
it's nice. It's nice to have consistent work as opposed to
Yeah.
being like contract here, laid
Yeah,
off
I
for two
know,
months,
right?
might be
How do
2 months
you?
here.
So
Yeah.
when you got that job, did you get on a boat right away, or?
I think I signed my employment offer in like late February, and March 11th, 2020, that was the day I joined the ship.
Oh,
So
where
it
did
was
you
a
guys
pretty
go
quick
to?
turnaround. Yeah. we we haven't left Halifax a lot really within the last year. Like last year, we were supposed to have a huge year. We were supposed to go do an event in Hawaii, and we were supposed to go. Where were we going after that? Hawaii, and then we were gonna go sail to back to Vancouver, and then we were supposed to do. So we ended up doing the last trip. The last trip was our Euro trip, and we went to Greenock, Scotland,
Oh,
and Southampton in
how
England.
long did it take to get there
Um,
from Canada?
we to get there wasn't too long. It was about a week, 10 days.
Hmm.
We were taking our time. We were taking our time. We were going with two Navy frigates, and we encountered some pretty good weather, which was pretty surprising given that it was like peak hurricane season in the Atlantic.
Oh, yeah, that's
Which
true.
is like
Yeah.
it's normally you're upside down that whole time. But no, oh yeah, man, like oh, it's insane. Like you'll be sleeping, and every ship has an immersion suit, which is basically just like a big waterproof Gumby suit that you stick on in case everything goes to shit. You got to jump in the water. Um, there's one of those in everybody's closet, so I take that and I stuff it under the edge of my mattress so it pins me into the wall, and that's how I sleep at night when we're rocking back and forth. If you're claustrophobic, it's fucking terrible, but otherwise, it's actually kind of cozy.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't
Yeah.
be laughing, but it's so funny. So, and then yeah, with COVID though, like you have to test everyone on the ship, and then when you go to Scotland, like, could you
Yeah.
get off the ship?
That trip we weren't able to. We maintained a bubble for that entire trip. So when
Oh,
we joined, the client personnel came on board. They were all previously tested. Um, we had a third party medical practice in Halifax come on board and test all of us. So we all came back. We all came back negative, which is positive. And then we took off. And the only times we ever broke our bubble and had people come on board was when you're going into foreign ports. A lot of time you have to have a pilot come on board, somebody who's just super familiar with the topography of the seabed, the currents, any other factors that might play a role in safely navigating the ship into the port.
mm.
Um, so we had pilots come on board in both the ports that we went into. But we took some pretty good COVID precautions with that. Only one person accompanied them up to the bridge. They wore a mask the whole time. All of us wore a mask when we were up on the bridge. They sanitized their hands. They maintained their distance. And normally, like a pilot, like it's normally way more laid back than that. Like somebody will come on board. Like first thing you do is make them a coffee because that's just what you do on a ship. That's like the most important thing.
Okay.
Coffee. Um, it doesn't matter. It could be like 4 o'clock in the morning or like lunchtime or like 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Every time is coffee time. So it's weird.
Okay.
This guy comes up and like we're scared to death of him, and we're not offering him coffee or nothing. He'll be like right over, like sitting in the chair beside you, like if we're up in like Scotland or whatever, he'll be like, yeah, hang a left up here, and that castle over there belonged to Queen fucking so and there's some sheep, and but this guy was just like sitting right back, like he was scared of us, we were scared of him. It was weird, but at the same point in time, it was safe. So we didn't get COVID. So
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, that's always cool. So you're back now,
Yeah,
and I remember
yeah,
seeing on your Instagram, a Hodder music. There was like this
yep,
photo, and it was like friggin' scary. And he said plague, and that you're having this song come out with Key Coffin and Frantic. Okay, this is
yep.
interesting. So it's like you have this one other life that's like you're well, you're on the sea doing all these things and navigating, and then on this side you're doing hip hop, right? Like, so
Yeah.
we talked about how the seafaring came about. How did the hip hop thing start for you?
I think that's been there long before the Seafaring thing's been there.
Mm.
The I don't know, man. I found hip hop and rap when I was like 12, 13. I was always big into like like heavy rock, right? Back in the day. Um and it just like, man, I was like a wimpy little kid. Like I was skinny. Like I could have gone hang gliding on a fucking Dorito. And like I was the target for like most people. Like they were like, "Fucking get him," and I was like, "Fuck." Um, but like rock and metal kind of was just like, all right, like I can bang my head to this and kind of just fucking for a minute in time you feel like
Mm.
the toughest motherfucker in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like so, and then I found hip hop and I was like, nah, like now I feel like the toughest motherfucker in the world. So
Mm.
you hear all these people telling their stories and you're like, man, like, all right, my story's nowhere near as cool as these guys. Like, I'm just little and get the shit kicked out of me. But if these guys can make it from this, I was like, there's no doubt in my mind I can fucking get out of this slump. So it just made me feel invincible. And for the longest time, like, I don't know, I'd always written lyrics and I'd always followed along and analyzed music, but I never had the access to make music. So as soon as I went through school, got my job, the first thing I did when I finally made the connection and the availability was started making music.
Mm. How did that
I
start,
feel like it
though?
was super long overdue. So Lil Frieza is he's featured on a few of my tracks. He's signed to our label. He's a good friend of mine. We've been friends since I was probably like 6.
Mm.
I was in the same class through elementary, and had some classes with his brother in high school. Like,
Mm.
so me and him go way back. He started making music in a duo group a couple years ago, and I was running a like an entertainment business at the time, sponsoring parties and doing contracts with bars and stuff. And I was like, man, like I'm always looking for like little guys, like talented, small, unheard of individuals to come perform at these events. So I was like, man, like
Mm.
you want to come out? So anyway, I made that connection after not talking to him for a few years, and we just kind of kept in touch after that. And he told me, he was like, man, like I've got this project I'm working on. He was like, would you want to feature on a track with me? Because he knew that I had been writing, um,
Oh, okay.
and it was something I was working at. So he was like, man, like, do you want to feature on a track with me? And
Mm.
so I jumped on this track with him. We recorded it in my girlfriend's old apartment living room. Um, and so anyway, Frieza came over and Blossom Complex came over. Um, and yeah, we recorded this track called Frieza Bap. And it's like this old jazz boom bap track. It hasn't been released. I've always egged Frieza to be like, man, drop that. I was like, we can re-record it because we're substantially better now, but you need to drop that.
What was his
It is
reason
a
for
good
not
track, man.
releasing it yet?
I think everybody is reason for not releasing a track. Everybody is their own worst critic. So Frieza's
Mm.
always been like, man, like I know I can do better. I'm like, yes, and we will someday. Like we will re-record that, and it will be great.
Mm.
Um, but man, like we finished recording that, and I was like, all right. Like I looked at Blossom Complex. This is the first time I met him, and I was like, dude, I was like, I need your number. Like I was like, we're gonna do this again really soon. Um,
Mm.
and I think in a period of like a couple months, we had recorded like 20 tracks or something. And eventually, we put a lot of that
That's
together.
insane.
Oh, dude, in the last year alone, we've recorded 50 tracks. I'm not saying they're
Crazy.
good. I'm just saying we recorded 50 tracks. And there's some that we're gonna go back to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's
Like
some that are just
what?
like I'll finish and Blossom will be like, hey, what the fuck was that? And I'll be like, man, I honestly I don't know. I did my best. Yeah,
So Blossom Complex is like your producer.
yeah. He's my producer and my business partner. He co-runs the label with me. And we've got a good friendship. We've got a great working relationship, and it just, man, like our ideas bounce off each other so well that I was like, man, like I got to get you locked into this. And I honestly can't think off the top of my head of like another track that's been produced by another producer. Like we mesh really well. So a lot of our stuff has been a collaborative effort.
Yeah, let's talk about Plague. He came out. I love it. You know, Kid Coven did
Thank
his
you.
thing. Frantic did his thing. You did your thing, and then there was like this beat switch towards the end, right? Um,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, 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 okay. I feel it. So that was all Blossom Complex, like the entire thing, and what was the
Yeah,
reason for
man.
that switch at the end? Well, towards the end.
So yeah, there's like side A and side B, and then Blossom Complex just goes fucking insane at the end.
Mm,
And I literally told him, I was like, because it was kind of structured originally for there to be, Frantic came on, did chorus, verse, chorus, my verse, chorus, bleed into the switch up, side B, chorus, coffin, chorus, me, outro. And then we changed it up and we did the side B just goes coffin straight to my verse, and then we were like, man, we still have like all this time left over. Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? So I just looked at Blossom and I was like, man, like go nuts. I was like, do what you do best.
mm,
So like he worked his magic on that, and I didn't hear that until like there was a couple master tracks that he had sent me,
oh.
and I didn't hear that mix up until the very last master track. He was like, man, I just want to try this idea out. I was like, this is fucking dope. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's going on there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, completely
I was
like
happy
that.
with that.
But how did you get to work with Frantica and Kid Coffin?
So, Blossom Complex, Frantic, and Coffin are in this group called Cult Child. And Blossom produces for Coffin quite often, and for Frantic a little bit. He did that beat. He's done a couple beats for Frantic, but most recently he did that track, "Food for Thought" with Ghetto Socks.
Yeah, yeah.
So they've all kind of worked together for a while, and Blossom pitched the idea to me. He was like, "Man, why don't you get these guys?" He was like, "Man, you want to do this aggressive like metal rap genre attempt?" And I was like, yeah, because that's exactly what it would be if it was just me, just an attempt. These guys have been doing it, so it was like, yeah, let's get these guys. Like, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Man, I can't. I myself alone on that track, it would have looked like the loneliest, saddest thing you've ever seen in your life. Like, it would have been like a musical attempt. You know the movie Up?
Yeah.
Like with the house and the balloons
Yeah.
and shit. You know the scene at the end where the old man is like sitting there all sad, his wife is dead and whatever, and it's just heartbreaking. It would have been like that, but with metal in the background. It would have just been terrible. So Blossom was like, "Man, get these guys on here." I was like, "Now we're thinking, because I can't do this by myself." So Frantic was coming over to collab with me on a song for another project that I have coming out. And this was like a super like kind of in my feelings, like soft R&B love songy kind of thing, and it was going to be like a happy collab. And then Blossom played him the instrumental for Plague, and he was like, "Man, can I scream on this?" I was like, "Buddy, do whatever the fuck you want to do on this." And he just started screaming, man. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, the entire neighborhood is gonna think I'm killing somebody. Because it started like the initial was like those like background screams that you hear, and I was kind of writing my verse for the other song we were doing, which in my head I was still like in my feelings mode, and now I hear like this like pterodactyl of death sound coming from behind me, and I'm like,
Pterodactyl
all right,
of death.
we're doing Plague now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with the song, it's like, well, I mean, COVID isn't a plague, but it kind of goes with what we're dealing with mask and all that. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then keep coughing. How did he join the song?
So we had myself and Frantic, and I was like, man, I was like, can we switch this up? He was like, what do you mean? I was like, can we put a B side in here? Just go completely into like a boom bap, just super, just fucking boom bap, like old grimy hip hop. He was like, yeah, all right. So we switched that up, and I was like, all right, like we should get somebody on this. So Blossom, working with Coffin so frequently, was like, man, like he'd be a perfect match for this. I was like, all right. So we hit up Coffin. Coffin was excited to jump on the track, man. I think he had his verse recorded in like within a few days of me asking him if he wanted to jump on the track. And it was fire. Like right off the cuff, I was like, all right, like this is fuck it. This is going on here. This is awesome.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw Kid Coffin. I'll come back to that. I remember the first time I saw Kid Coffin perform. I was like, okay, this is not this tall. It's like he's massive, right? And then it's like with the mic and screaming his lungs out. I was like, okay, there's some more passion. Yeah, go on.
Oh yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, we had pitched the fourth verse to a few different artists, but because of COVID, people couldn't get studio time. People were uncomfortable coming to record with us. So I was like, I'll jump on this last verse. And initially we were gonna have the chorus there, but I liked the last bar that Coffin went off of and the flow, because it's like paycheck dirty like that backdoor at Epstein's, and then I kept going. I was like, they wrecked Bernie 2020, stop progressing. COVID killed the wrong 1%, and that's depressing. Because like Coffin took a completely different approach. He was talking about COVID and stuff, but his big topic, which was another thing that I've been talking about in a couple just draft songs that I've been doing, was like the global elites and like how not only is COVID the big fucking issue right now, but I was like, the global elites, people doing backdoor shady deals, like the people who control our lives without us knowing they control it. So I was like, man, like I like the direction he went with this. I like this a lot. So that's kind of where I went with my verse, and I like the flow. So I was like, fuck it, we're just gonna keep going. We cut that chorus, and we just kept rolling with it. And then it left a huge access at the end, and I was like, man, Blossom go nuts. Like, so
no, and I think for me, you could tell that you guys are having so much fun on that track. Like, I like when people are making music, and you can tell they enjoy themselves making that. So like the photo, now you make this song. Did you kind of come up with this concept for the photo shoot? Like, cause the photo shoot, it goes in the tone of the song also.
Yeah, we like in our label we have like in-house photography. We've got like 3 different photographers. So I just hit up one of them. I was like, yo, what's your availability for the next few days? We grabbed him and we went out and did a shoot. And then my cousin is another one of our photographers. So I knew her schedule. I was like, I know you're available. I need you. So we grabbed her that day. We went out and did another shoot. And and then Blossom does a lot of graphic design as well. So all the edits and stuff he was able to do on his end. And we just kind of kept playing with that, running with that general theme. The videos and the video editing, I did most of that end of it. And we were just able to kind of put together like a rollout that fit the aesthetic of the track. So that was, it was just a big collaborative effort.
Yeah, no, I agree. You've been mentioning about the label. So let's talk about the label. Why did you decide to start a label? What's it called? How are things going? Who's on your roster? Things like this.
So the origin of, so we're Ibex Music. Ibex is a species of the largest, most aggressive species of goat. Goat is greatest of all time. So that's kind of our ego stroking origin of name.
Ego stroking.
But yeah, man. But I think it was a cool. It kind of just came to me, and I mentioned it to Blossom, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, all right. So the whole origin behind why we wanted to start a label was because within my network and Blossom Complex's network of people,
Mm.
we have enough individuals with talents and abilities at our disposal that people who normally don't have the access to making music and have always dreamed about making music, we can kind of make that a more realistic opportunity for them.
Mm.
So the big thing with Ibex is just kind of making music accessible for artists and affordable for artists. And we cover a lot of the afterthought music as far as like recording and getting beats and stuff. Blossom Complex produces most of the beats. If our artists want to outsource and find a different producer or whatever, they have the freedom to do that. As long as everything clears with us, everything still has to be fit the technical, be up to technical par as far as like
Mm-hmm.
what a commercial release would require. Like you can't come in and be like, "Ah, man, I got this MP3 rip off of YouTube and we don't own it," and I'd be like, "No, that's how we get sued." So there's obviously like there's some limitations there,
Yeah.
but and then we've got the studio that I'm currently building, currently sitting in the half completed shell of it.
Mm.
And
So
so
is it like in
now we've got
your
the
home,
studio.
or the studio is it in your
No,
home, like your
I
basement or something?
not yet. That's the end goal is to have a nice big home studio.
Okay.
We're looking for houses right now, me and my girlfriend, but the housing market isn't exactly favorable to
No, Halifax housing
anybody.
is
Anybody, if
all.
you're looking to buy,
Yeah, that's true.
it's fucked. It's insane, man. Like
So what is it? Is
it's
it like a garage or what? Your
it's
studio?
we bought a 30-foot enclosed car hauler, a
Oh,
big trailer.
yeah, that sounds
Yeah, a
cool.
big aluminum trailer. So we converted the front end is like the. Let's see if I can swing this laptop around. So this is what we got so far. The front end is just basically I've got carpet down. We've got some acoustic paneling in behind me. I've got some shelves up to keep all our gear on. I'm
Hmm.
picking up an IKEA couch as soon as I have like an hour of availability. Uh, we'll put a couch back there. I just want to make this area as
Yeah,
cozy as it can be because the idea is that like people are going to want to just come hang out and just be creative. Um, and
yeah,
then we've still
yeah.
got like the like big ramp behind me here. That thing still flips down, so like I'm looking forward to Ibex patio season.
Oh, nice,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so that'll flip down. We can have like natural light in here. I've got all kinds of light in here. I just leave it pretty dim because I'm nocturnal. And then we've got the
Me and you
vocal
both. Me
booth
and
kind
you
of in the
both.
middle. Yeah, man. I love
Oh,
working not like pitch black, but like dim enough that I can just see what I'm writing. And yeah, like
I
it's
agree. I agree.
and then blossoms are different. Oh yeah, man. Like if I'm in the studio with Blossom Complex, it's hilarious because he describes himself as a plant. He needs to have water and light to survive. So I wired in a bunch of fucking pot lights for him. We got two pretty big LED lights. Like if I hit on all the lights in here, like it looks like the surface of the fucking sun. So we got that wired in for him. We got some dim lights for me.
Mm.
And then we got lights in the vocal booth, and then in the back is like some storage. That's where we're gonna keep some of our merch and some of our gear and stuff. The back completely locks up. It's its own independent thing.
Mm.
People will be able to have access to like the control room and the vocal booth, but the back will only be like a few of us who are like label execs or
Yeah.
whatever.
How much work is left to get it to where you want it to be?
I've got one, two, three, four, five. We have 5 acoustic panels left to build. Uh, Foam the ceiling, and besides that, just like some aesthetic
Hmm.
stuff. I got the carpet down. I want to do some nice wood trim around the edges, down the floor, like at the baseboard. Do some trim around the doors and the
Mm.
window, um, just to pretty it up a little bit. Make it like the goal is that when people walk in here, I want them to completely forget that they're in a trailer. Except I've got like the jack for
Mm.
the crank for the jacks. I'm gonna mount that on the wall, so people are like, "What's that?" I'm like, "That's what's keeping us off the ground." Um, that's gonna be like the only thing that resembles a trailer in this entire studio. But
Oh, nice.
besides that, it's yeah, yeah, it's
So,
cozy inside too, man.
uh,
We've got a little tiny space heater. Everything's solar.
yeah.
It's kind of cool.
I mean, it sounds like between you and Blossom Complex, you're kind of self-funding this whole thing. Um, I
Yeah,
mean, you kind of have to want to sign people that will bring some kind of return on the investment you're making in them.
yeah.
So, how do you decide the people that you sign on your label?
I look at it's kind of hard because there's so many different. We've got people who are like pop artists, folk artists, and then rappers, and I only specialize in like one of three of those topics. Um, so with the folk and the pop, that's where we kind of got to do our research and figure out like what is marketable and who is marketable.
Mm,
What can we get into shows? What can we whose albums can we push? Um, like that kind of stuff. So
mm,
it's I would love to bring on every artist that doesn't have the opportunity to record music in Halifax. But like the other side of it is the fact that we also manage the artists. They're 100%
mm,
free to hire their own manager. But like if you want us to book you gigs, if you want us to schedule you like podcasts or whatever, like media appearances, like we can take care of that. But I
mm,
don't want to overbook myself because then I can't contribute anything to your career. I'm not able to fully bring things to the table and I can't
mm,
commit. So we don't want to flood our roster. Right now we've got 9 people
mm,
and or 8 people, and that's pretty comfortable. That's pretty
mm.
comfortable. As those people start to build a platform underneath them and
Yeah.
are able to do their own promotion a little bit more, we'll definitely be looking to bring a couple people in. But right now we've got a very comfortable roster.
Mm, mm. And like, what are some releases that we should look forward to in the near future?
So last week I was in the studio with a high school buddy of mine. His name is Tristan. He raps under the handle Twister, TWSTR. That'd be his initials plus an R at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in high school, man. He was so talented, so talented. And every
Mm,
now and then you'll see him drop something on YouTube. And the whole time I'm sitting back, and he's rapping on like YouTube beats and stuff that you can't own. You can't own it. You can't make money off it. You can't push it on distribution platforms. You limit yourself, and the reason was because he didn't have the access to a producer and the route through distribution.
mm-hmm.
So, and like that was an example of like a perfect situation of somebody that was just like, man, like we need to get your shit out there. So I spent like 4 or 5 days last week, um, like 9 o'clock in the morning till there was one night we went till like 10 or 11,
Wow.
um, and like full days just in the booth recording. Blossom was sending beats. We had another producer sending us beats, and we were just writing, recording, and just building up enough so we can get an EP under his belt anyway.
Mm,
Um, so we've got his release is coming out, currently untitled, um, but that'll be coming out. We've got Kieran Matheson. He's kind of like a pop artist. He's got a really cool concept album coming out that I can't really go too much into detail about right now because we're
completely understand.
finalizing the finalizing it. But
Mm,
I've heard every track that's on it. Blossom Complex has completely taken that whole project and just kind of steered that ship, so to speak. So I've just been lucky enough to hear the masters coming back, and I'm like, man, like this is so good. It's and pop is again, it's not my niche genre. It's not something I have any expertise in. So that's why I just kind of took a step back. I was like, man, I looked at Blossom. I was like, man, whatever you need, let me know. I was like, but as far as like knowing what to do with this, I was like, I don't have the fucking sweetest clue. I was like, you take this. Um, and they've been working together on that for a couple months now, and
Wow.
it's shaping up really nice. So that'll be another one just to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the big ones that we got on the docket right now. We've got my
Mm.
album or my EP, Off My Chest, coming out, and I've got another LP kind of in the vault, mostly complete. And we've got a bunch of other stuff. Just kind of, we've got most of our schedule laid out until early 2021, 2022. This is
Wow.
2021. Yeah.
That is insane. You know
So
what?
it's busy.
I really really enjoy your chats, but I'm going to save some of my questions for the next time I bring you to the sanctuary. But I wanna take you out
Yeah,
on this.
absolutely.
So on one arm you are this seagoing person, and then one arm you are like an artist, label owner, business person, and then in the middle you also have your partner. How do you bring all these three things together and make them work, especially with the little time you have? Like, because everyone has just 24 hours. How do you make it all come together?
I think I utilize like the most of the 24 hours I can. Sometimes to like my own detriment. I don't sleep as much as I should, which is kind of all right. I usually clock 6 hours of sleep, and that's a good night. We'll get. I'm usually up early in the morning, even when I'm off the ship. Um, my mornings always start 8 o'clock is like me sleeping in. Um, and that's like my time off. In the last 12 weeks, I've taken one weekend off.
Gosh.
Um, and that was just to go up to Cape Breton to visit my girlfriend's family.
Mm.
So it was like, as long as you enjoy what you do, I tell myself I'm not really working. Uh, so it's just being busy. Being busy is not even being busy, being productive. Being
Mm.
productive is good. Being productive is very good.
Mm. Yeah. Oh man, Liam, thank you so much for coming to the sanctuary and for making
No,
me
thank you for
laugh and
having me.
making some of my questions about crazy people on the water make sense. And I can't wait to have you back. And I'm going to play out the show we play because it's crazy and I love the song. So
Sweet.
yeah, thanks so much for coming to the sanctuary.
No, man, I had a great time. I had an awesome time. Thank you so much.